bunun farkındasın ne de polis farkında. Ceviz ağacı, hane farkında. Ceviz ağacı, hane farkında. Ne sen bunun farkındasın ne de polis farkında. Ne sen bunun farkındasın ne de polis farkında. Faşizme, hayır! Faşizme, hayır! Faşizme, hayır! Faşizme, hayır! Faşizme,
Arkadaşlar hoş geldiniz.
Taşıma, Tayyip şaşırma, sabrımızı taşıma, Tayyip şaşırma, sabrımızı taşıma, Tayyip şaşırma, sabrımızı.
Bunu kimse ben şu bu yapmamıştır. Bunu Taksim'deki insanlarımız başlatmıştır. Biz onları destekliyoruz. We are supporting Taksim, Gezi, all Turkish people who is moving into Turkey. Şimdi arkadaşımız, Tuğrul arkadaşımız giriş konuşması yapacak. Ondan önce saygı duruşumuz var telefonu. Tutuklanan, ölen arkadaşlarımız var. Onlar için lütfen bir dakikanızı ayırır mısınız? Teşekkürler.
Mustafa Kemal'in askerleriyiz. Mustafa Kemal'in askerleriyiz. Mustafa Kemal'in askerleriyiz. Mustafa Kemal'in askerleriyiz. Her yer Taksim, her yer direniş. Her yer Taksim, her yer direniş. Her yer Taksim, her yer direniş. Her yer Taksim, her yer direniş. Her yer Taksim, her yer direniş. Her yer Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Erdogan istifa! Her yerin nesi? Tayyip istifa! Tayyip istifa! Tayyip istifa! Tayyip istifa! Tayyip istifa!
Bugün bizi buraya getiren, Türkiye'de milyonları sokağa döken duygunun, ya olayın bir tek bu olmadığını hepimiz biliyoruz. Bu olay artık yeter artık olayıdır, duygusudur. Yeter artık. Yeter. Artık bardak taştı. Sadece buradan bunu söylemek istiyoruz. Yabancı basında bu Türk Baharı olarak gösteriliyor. Halbuki biz Türk Baharı'nı 90 sene önce yaşadık. Biz ikinci bir bahar istemiyoruz. İkinci bir hükümdar istemiyoruz.
Supporters in the world. There is an ongoing public uprising in Turkey, which one might call as the Turkish Spring against the anti-democratic regulations of the current government. The uprising was sparked by a police attack against peaceful protesters in Taksim, Istanbul, who were gathered in a public park to protest the planned shopping mall construction. By removal of the park, one of the few remaining green areas in downtown Istanbul. Those peaceful sitting protesters who were in the area since the beginning of the week were attacked by the police forces on Friday, May 31st, 5 a.m. in the morning, by tear gas and water cannons without any warning. These protesters were just ordinary people who were there to save trees from being toppled down by bulldozers, to voice their opinions about the fate of their city by exercising their constitutional right to a peaceful demonstration. The unnecessary and excessive use of police force against demonstrators and non-demonstrators alike in the area have caused an outrage among the public, drawing more crowds to Taksim. Ongoing police brutality and reports of injuries sparked even more protests all over Istanbul and to other cities, turning the country into wide demonstrations against Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan. İstifa Tayyip, istifa Tayyip, istifa Tayyip, istifa
Tayyip istifa, Tayyip istifa, Tayyip istifa.
Thank you.
Tayyip istifa.
Associated Press calls Erdogan an increasingly authoritarian and uncompromising tendencies. In many cities, people from all parts of the society, believers, non-believers, different ethnic grounds, different party voters, have gathered on the streets demanding the police violence against public to come to an end and chanting for Mr. Erdogan's resignation. Tayyip istifa!
Tayyip
İstifa! Tayyip istifa!
Tayyip istifa.
Faşist başkan istemiyoruz. Faşist başkan istemiyoruz.
Faşist başkan istemiyoruz.
İstemiyoruz.
Faşist
Başkan istemiyoruz.
faşist başkan istemiyoruz.
Faşist başkan istemiyoruz.
Major media, either supporter of the government or oppressed by the government, is turning a blind eye on the developments. Allah'ına kadar yok. Yok yine yok yani. Main source of communication is basically social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and civil people broadcasting from the streets to various sites using their cell phones. BBC shows more than freaking what? Shame. Turkish media.
Shame on them.
Shame on them. Thank you. People of Turkey is reading reports or watching videos about what is going on in their countries from international press coverage due to lack of local media reports. There is also growing concern among the public that internet access, Facebook, Twitter, will be banned by the government.
It's already banned.
And some say they're already banned. You! Please help us spread the outcry of public in Turkey to stop the police violence against public and anti-democratic regulations. Tayyip istifa! Tayyip istifa! Tayyip istifa! Arkadaşlar ve artık bu arkadaşımızın dediği gibi belki
müdürleri bir emir verdiği zaman bile polisler bu emirleri dinlemiyor. Kendi bildiklerine göre hareket ediyorlar. Gördüğünüz bu gaddarca davranışların bir sebebi de budur. Türkiye'deki polis teşkilatının revize edilmesi, yenilenmesi gerekiyor. Bu birincisi. İkincisi, ülkemizde projeler yapılması, ülkemizde kamunun harcamalar yapması elbette ki hepimiz için yararlı sonuçlar getirebilir.
Sesimizi göksu dinlesin, sert adımlarla her yer inlesin. Sesimizi yer göksu dinlesin, sert adımlarla her yer inlesin, inlesin. Bu gökdeniz nerede var, nerede bu dağlar taşlar? Bu ağaçlar güzel kuşlar, yürüyelim arkadaşlar. La la la la la la, sesimizi yer göksu dinlesin, sert adımlarla her yer inlesin. Sesimizi yer göksu dinlesin, sert adımlarla her yer inlesin, inlesin.
Merhabalar San Francisco. Ben de bir iki kelime etmek istiyorum. Buraya kadar geldik. Ben buradan direkt ülkemizi yöneten Başbakan ve AKP'li yöneticilere sesleniyorum.
Thank you all for coming today. Turkey is passing through very severe days and events, but it would be wrong to think that right now Turkey is not democratic. Turkey has never been democratic. Turkey has always been ruled under fascism, and Erdogan is yet one another of the fascist people coming down the line. Until United States, until imperialism leaves Turkey, Turkey is not going to be democratic. We need to get United States out of Turkey. We need to get United States out of Middle East. Look at today. The government is trying to stage a war against its neighbors. Nearly all of its neighbors. Syria first. They are bringing the terrorists. They are bringing the jihadists from all over the world, from Libya, from Chechenistan, from anywhere, Afghanistan to Turkey. And they are bombing their own people. And the only reason why Erdogan is doing this is because he's getting his orders from the United States of America, from NATO. Until this is resolved, we are not going to see democracy. Until this is resolved, until the people of Turkey, Kurds, Turks, Alevites, Sunnis, whoever lives in Turkey comes together against imperialism, we are not going to have democracy. Thank you all.
We are Kurds, we are Taksim, so all can be free. We are a forest, we are a tree. We are Turks, we are Kurds, we are Taksim, so all can be free. We are a forest, we are a tree. We are Turks, we are Kurds, we are Taksim, so all can be free. We are a forest, we are a tree. We are Turks, we are Kurds, we are Taksim, so all can be free.
My name is Aisha. I'm from Turkey. I'm a PhD student here at UC Berkeley. We are here to support all of the resistors in Turkey who are not only resisting against trees being cut down, but against the totalitarian approach of the regime that's been in power for the past 10 years.
So the students are angry in Turkey?
The students are not angry at Turkey. The students are angry at the treatment that Turkish citizens are now being put through by the current government, and particularly the Prime Minister.
What policies do you disagree with about the government?
I mean, they have a pretty bad track record for the past 10 years. Maybe I'd start with there being more journalists in jail than in China at the present moment. There being students now being actually taken under custody because they have been sharing news about the protests on social media. Excessive police force against peaceful protesters who are just protesting, trees getting cut down. And these are just the beginnings. So
You're fed up with what's going on?
Fed up, yes. In Turkish that would be yeter, enough.
I'm an associate professor of sociology at UC Berkeley, and I'm a Turkish citizen living in Berkeley. and as the Turks, Kurds, Armenians, and all Middle Easterners and all Europeans and all world citizens living in Berkeley, we want to support the uprising in Turkey, the uprising against authoritarianism and the uprising against the destruction of nature for the interests of capital accumulation. So we want to defend nature. We want to defend the democratic rights of the peoples of Turkey.
And how is this connected to the United States?
Well, in many ways, the U.S., not just the U.S., but the Western international community as a whole has been marketing Turkey as a democratic Muslim model to follow, and it turns out that Turkey is not democratic after all, and Turkey first has to get democratic, and that's what we are doing here. We are trying to democratize Turkey. I mean, not just we here, but the revolt in Taksim is trying to democratize Turkey, and the US and the Western community are also marketing Turkey as a model of successful capitalism. But we are saying there can be no successful capitalism. Capitalism is bound to destroy nature and livelihood and communities. So we are defending nature, communities, and the interests of labor and poor people here.
And this is a big rebellion in Turkey. I mean, a large number of people are. Do you think Erdogan's government will be able to stay in office?
I would say most probably yes. So if you look at the immediate agenda of the protesters in Turkey, the immediate agenda is not the removal of the government, but the removal of mayors, ministers, and police officers, police chiefs who are behind this brutality. Well, the government as a whole is behind this brutality, but there is no immediate alternative to the government. So the protesters in Taksim know that that would not be a very realistic goal. The removal of the government would not be a very realistic goal.
Why don't you talk about the specific policies of the IMF, World Bank, privatization that have threatened Turkey and what it's doing to the people of Turkey?
Yeah, definitely. So this is what is happening. The IMF, the World Bank, Western capitalist interests, they have been pushing what they call urban renewal. So in order to build malls, hotels, and office space, they are destroying parks, trees, even forests now. Huge forests are going to be destroyed in order to build a third bridge in Turkey. And the Taksim revolt is trying to stand in front of that destruction of the forests, of the parks, of also squatter settlements. So this is not just nature. They're also removing poor squatter populations.
Gentrification?
Yes, gentrification, exactly. So urban renewal, gentrification. This is urban renewal is a Turkish word they're using, kentsel dönüşüm. So basically the Taksim revolt is trying to stand in the way of that brutal capital accumulation.
And what does it mean for education? There have been attempts to limit education for girls, restructure Turkish education. Can you talk about that?
Well, I wouldn't say there are any concrete steps in the direction of Islamizing education or restricting the education of girls. So maybe there are very small steps in that direction. But the major way education is being affected is through privatization. So public schools are in a horrible condition in Turkey because of the privatization schemes of the last 33 years. So this is not just this last government which has been governing for 11 years. For the last 33 years, education has been falling apart in Turkey.
And does this compare to what's happening with privatization in the University of California?
Well, it does. It certainly does. It compares to UC. It compares to California as a whole. The whole Californian public education system is falling apart. So we want to build those bridges, actually. We want to show to the people of California and after that to the American people that our interests are connected. Our interests against not only authoritarianism but also ruthless capital accumulation population. Our interests are connected in Spain, in Turkey, in Latin America. This is a connected fight.
Now, you have Barbara Lee, have American politicians, have they spoken out against the repression of people in Turkey?
Can you repeat that?
Barbara Lee, Nancy Pelosi, you have these American politicians in the Bay Area who say that they're liberals. Have they spoken out against the repression in Turkey?
As far as I know, no. I mean, the liberal politicians want to keep Turkey as a model. So they want to draw people's attention away from this brutality. And let me remind you, this is not just an authoritarian brutality, it's a capitalist brutality.
Okay, what's your name again?
Cihan Tugal.
Marketing executive, a PR executive in the US, and what's going on in Turkey is there's actually an Islamic, anti-democratic and dictator government that is forcing, brutal force against people that are freedom lovers, doctors, journalists that are out on the street and fighting for our rights. And we want Americans to get engaged, to learn. There's not much news here in the US, unfortunately. We want them to get engaged and support us because we believe that Americans believe in freedom. So we want them to support us in our fight.
So there are people in the United States that are supporting the struggle of the people of Turkey.
That's what we want. That's what we want. So
who does the government represent in Turkey?
The government represents probably a minority of, I would say, fundamentalists, sort of more religious kind of front in Turkey.
They want a completely theocratic society?
They say they don't, and they're essentially moving towards a completely theocratic society where they have started putting essentially journalists in jail, military commanders in jail, doctors in jail, lawyers in jail. So they now own everything. So it's going towards a dictatorship. They've banned alcohol, they've banned people's rights to, many things, women's rights, and all those types of things. And we are a secular system. We believe in freedom. We believe that everybody's free to believe in whatever they want and they can live freely.
The protesters. So we're very uncomfortable with what's going on in Turkey now. In the meantime, we're actually quite happy that certain things are happening now, especially what's happening in Taksim. It's quite amazing. It's actually almost a mirror image of 1871 Paris Commune, actually. People are having an unbelievable time. My brother's right there, my friends are all right there. They finally actually captured the space and using it so peacefully. They are sharing everything. There's no money involved. I mean, it's just like the best you can imagine. Unfortunately, the other parts of the country is not as calm yet because, especially in Ankara, there are a lot of conflict between the police, who has been extremely brutal. And even certain parts of Istanbul and areas where the ruling party is very powerful, such as Fatih district or Üsküdar district, we're hearing people are on the street basically protesting, which is a pretty big deal actually. It's like, imagine Oklahoma protesting against George Bush or Texas for that matter. So
people are pretty fed up.
Oh, absolutely, from every walks of life at the moment. It's not specific to one group, as the Prime Minister puts recently. He keeps saying that, it's just if you, as we call çapulcu or squatters or hoodlum, however you want to describe that. Unfortunately, that's far from the reality. So we're very hopeful actually. I mean, the expected outcome is for government to back off. Though he, a few hours ago, spoke about it in Tunisia. He said that he's not backing off. He does not know how to deal with crisis. He's known to be a bully. He's actually quite proud of that. He's part of Istanbul, very small section that is known for its street, I have to say, thugs. And he uses it as a positive tool to promote himself because unfortunately Turkey is a patriarchal society. So sometimes that kind of quality plays in the hands of man.
Well, when you talk about 1871, the Paris Commune, you look at that as a structure or a future for society?
I would love to see that personally, but it's too early to say anything. All I can tell you is every single piece of video or photograph I've seen so far resembles that. It's just unbelievable.
You're pretty excited
I am quite excited. I mean, I actually am shocked, if anything, because I never thought actually such a thing would come out of my home country. I'm amazed and I'm, enjoy if anything. So it's quite.
Talk about with the sign. U.S. is exporting gas.
Yeah, all the tear gas is coming from US, unfortunately, and police is using in every city. And there have been so many injuries. There are about 1,000 people in the hospital, all injured, and 3 deaths by now.
Resist Gezi Park! Resist Taksim! Resist Gezi Park!
A neighborhood called 1 Mayıs. So in order to honor those people, instead of just chanting her yer Taksim, we also want to say her yer Antakya. Her yer Antakya, her yer direniş. And her yer 1 Mayıs ve her yer direniş. Everywhere is 1 Mayıs, everywhere is May Day neighborhood, and everywhere is Antakya. Those are the 2 places where we lost 2 lives during the protests. Her yer Antakya, her yer direniş. Her yer Antakya, her yer direniş. Her yer Antakya, her yer direniş. Her yer Antakya, her yer direniş. Her yer Antakya, her yer direniş. Her yer 1 Mayıs, her yer direniş. Her yer 1 Mayıs, her yer direniş. Her yer 1 Mayıs, her yer direniş. Her yer 1 Mayıs, her yer direniş. Is everywhere, everywhere is Antakya. Resistance is everywhere, everywhere is Antakya. Resistance is everywhere, everywhere is Antakya. Resistance is everywhere, everywhere is Antakya. I'll be going back to Turkey soon, in fact, and I don't like the government's policies in many respects, both with respect to the privatization they've been engaged in. They've been continuing policies since they've come to power, to privatize all kinds of public facilities, public spaces, and part of the problem with the Gezi Park is also related to this. But also they are trying to push the society into a certain shape, a certain ideology they are carrying. People are also very upset with this, me included. In general, religious conservatism is not the way I think a country can develop with. So I'm concerned with both the social and economic policies of the government, and it's very valuable that people have come up onto the streets to say that they're against this. It's a very important turning point.
Isn't the U.S. government supporting these policies in Turkey?
Yeah, sure. I mean, privatization actually has been an invention much more of the Thatcher and Reagan governments, and then imposed on countries like Turkey and other countries like in Latin America or Asia, than purely Turkish invention. And the Tayyip Erdogan government have been always trying to be as close to the US government as possible. And even with respect to how, for example, some of the tear gas bombs they've been acquiring from the US, so they have very close ties, of course, with the US government. And I actually don't understand how the US government, how John Kerry could come up and criticize the Turkish government with respect to how they've been treating occupiers in Taksim. The same was what happened here 1.5 years ago in Oakland. The same early morning attack on occupiers, the same gas bomb attacks, people being shot in the head with gas canisters. It was exactly the same, and the US government didn't apologize for that. And that is pure hypocrisy, I should say, what the US government is doing. Of course, it was totally unacceptable what the Turkish government did, but this is something we will solve, and I think the US government first should think about its own issues. They should, if they want to contribute anything, they should stop supporting Turkey's military. They should stop selling arms to Turkey and also similar countries, and also stop selling gas bombs, of course.
So it seems like the United States is playing a double standard when they talk about we're for democracy and against repression.
Definitely. There's no other explanation to what we are saying.
Now, this is one of the biggest movements in Turkey since the 60s. Do you think it will continue?
It's very important that the demands of the movement become more crystallized and the movement become more organized. Actually, the Occupy movement here 2 years ago also showed that spontaneously a movement can grow, and it can be very effective, and it can include many people who have been apolitical before. But to continue forward, you have to have some level of organization, both on the street and with respect to political representation. If this doesn't happen, then it is bound to weaken, of course. But one thing, whatever happens, is important that the Tayyip Erdogan government, they've been continuing their passing laws and changing, putting people who are close to them in key positions in the bureaucracy. So they've been changing the state, and they've been trying to change the society very systematically within the last 11 years since they came to power. And this had created a feeling of, I could say, fear within progressive forces in Turkey and the people in general who did not agree with the government. And this has been the turning point in that that feeling of fear has been very, very obviously, very clearly broken. And so things will not be as before, but how much forward we can go with this depends on indeed how the political force, what kind of political force will come out of this movement. I mean, it cannot. Just again, looking at the Occupy, the history of the Occupy movement here, it's obvious that just spontaneously a movement it doesn't survive too long. It has to have a political representation.
Today is something that we have fought for in 2011. But it started long before that. It's a common cause. It's the fight for social justice. The regime Mubarak had called us looters, had called us corruptors, thieves, burglars, the same as they are calling people in Taksim Square and Gezi Park, that they are like a bunch of kids, a bunch of youth, a bunch of seculars, a bunch of anti-religious, a bunch of people who are against any kind of solidarity. But the reality is that you are, as much as we do, care for unity. We care for bringing justice by its true means, not just by words, but by practice. It's about freedom of speech, where you are not just, it's not about the polls and just elections, where after you gain power, you are granted to do whatever you want. No, it is about taking care of the minorities, about respecting the other and not marginalizing them and ridiculing them. In that regard, people from from Egypt, from Tahrir Square, support Taksim Square.
Community knows no national boundaries. It doesn't know any racial boundaries. It doesn't know any sectarian boundaries. So what our Tunisian friends, what our American friends, Spanish friends started in 2011, what our Egyptian friends continued in 2011, 2012, this is the fight that is still raging for democracy and against the destruction of communities and nature. So we will spread this fight to every corner of the world. Again, black and white, unite and fight. Black and white, unite and fight. Turk and Kurd, unite and fight. Turk and Kurd, unite and fight. Black and white, unite and fight. Black and white, unite and fight. Turk and Kurd, unite and fight. Turk and Kurd, unite and fight. Black and white, unite and fight. Black and white, unite and fight. Turk and Kurd, unite and fight. Turk and Kurd, unite and fight.
İnlesin, inlesin. Bu gökdeniz nerede var, nerede?